This video will just give you a high-level overview of the grievance process. So a grievance is a statement of complaint over something that you believe is wrong or unfair. But for our purposes, it's not just something that you believe is wrong or unfair, but that is an actual violation of the collective agreement. This is quite important because there are many things that we might experience that we feel are unjust. But if we cannot find a relevant section of the collective agreement to apply in the situation, then there is nothing to grieve. Article 32 outlines the procedures for handling grievances and arbitrations. And so the grievance is something that happens at a local level. It's a complaint that will be dealt with by the individuals involved. So union representatives, college representatives, and the person lodging the complaint. An arbitration is what happens if the grievance is not resolved at the college level. And then at that point, lawyers actually get involved, and it's a bit of a more formal process. So anybody that's upset about sort of workload grievances, things that are related to the standard workload form, so that would be anyone with a full-time position at the college, those have to be referred to the workload monitoring group and might get escalated to a workload resolution arbitration. And there are lots of more detailed videos on that on our YouTube channel. But other types of complaints are dealt with through the general grievance process. And some of those things can include bullying and harassment, dismissals, disciplinary action, accommodation issues, health and safety. There's quite a range of things that could happen that might result in a grievance being filed. Timelines are really important in the grievance process. You can't sit on things for too long. When you know that something has happened, you have to bring it to the attention of someone at the college. And the only exception to this are claims that are related to harassment, bullying, and discrimination. Typically, people have up to a year to file a grievance related to this sort of behavior. Even serious and legitimate grievances can and are dismissed if timelines are not met. And when we talk about days, we are talking about calendar days, not work days. There's basically 5 steps in the grievance process. You have to make the complaint. If necessary, you file a grievance. There will be a grievance meeting. There will be a formal response to the grievance. And if necessary, a referral to arbitration. So when we look at making the complaint, the word complaint is a pretty strong word, but we're really just talking about an issue that has come up. And if it's at all possible to resolve it without filing a grievance, that's preferable. And in order to make sure that that happens, when someone has a complaint, they need to bring it to the attention of the appropriate individual so that they have a chance to resolve things without having to go to a grievance. So we're going to work through an improper partial load work assignment in order to demonstrate what the process would look like. So in this case, we have 2 faculty members, Georgia and Anwar, both partial load, one who has significantly more seniority than the other. And what we have in terms of the situation is an associate dean that has given partial load work assignment to both individuals, but has assigned courses to Anwar that Georgia has seniority over. And this would be considered a violation of Article 2610. We do really recommend that you reach out to a union representative without delay to get advice and support before you reach out to your supervisor. Now, let's assume Georgia finds out about this and she brings it to her associate dean's attention as soon as she becomes aware of it. Because in the collective agreement, it says that you should do this within 28 days of becoming aware of whatever the issue is. And they use the language or ought reasonably to have come to the attention of the employee. And what that means is, if there was an email sent to Georgia and she just ignored her email account for several weeks and then opened the email and found out that there was this problem, she might be barred from actually getting a grievance going over this because she sat on it for too long. And ignoring your email is not a legitimate reason for doing that. But let's assume that she has found the issue out, she's brought it to the attention of her AD, and the AD arranges to have a meeting and then has 7 days to respond to the complaint formally. And we do recommend that you engage in a meeting rather than a bunch of emails back and forth. We have had faculty do that, and then timelines expire, and there are lots of problems when you communicate solely by email in terms of tone and intention and those sorts of things. Again, it's advisable to have a union representative present at the meetings, if for no other reason than to take notes. And if the AD does not respond by day 7 after the meeting with the employee, then their silence is considered a response and the clock will start ticking. You don't just keep waiting and waiting to see what happens. You just start counting the days. And it might be that George's AD responds and corrects the issue, and then it's resolved. So there's no grievance and no further action needed. But if the AD either doesn't respond or says, no, I don't think we violated the collective agreement, now Georgia has 7 days to file her grievance. And the union does that on her behalf. We would meet with Georgia to complete the form. The form would outline what the grievance is about and what sort of resolution that Georgia wants. In this case, she would just want her courses that she has seniority over to be assigned for her. So it's a pretty simple solution to the problem. The college would then have 15 days to organize a grievance meeting. And if for some reason that was problematic in terms of timing, as long as both parties agreed to extend the timeline, then that could be done. And that's always done in writing as well. And so if you file a grievance and you're like, oh, who's going to be there? Typically you've got the head of HR and one other college rep. And in this case, it might be Georgia's AD or her dean. It is up to the college to decide who comes. And then Georgia, her steward, and one other union representative would be present. And ideally, there would be note takers on both sides. It's meant to be a relatively informal process. They schedule an hour for it and they organize them via MS Teams, unless the griever wants the meeting to be in person. So the meeting would be turned over to Georgia to outline, the reasons for her grievance. And if Georgia's someone who's really nervous about talking or worried about speaking in front of their boss, then the union representative can assist with this. And each side can ask questions. And at any time during the hearing, the meeting, if we're unsure about something or Georgia would like to chat before answering a question, then we can ask to have a private moment to consult before continuing with the grievance. Once that meeting has concluded, then the college has to give their decision in writing within 15 days, and the response will be sent to Georgia and the union. And if the college grants the grievance, then again, Georgia gets her assigned courses and everything's resolved and it's done. But if the college says, no, we didn't violate the collective agreement, we're not going to give her those courses. Now she has 15 days to refer the matter to arbitration, or she will be deemed to have accepted the college's decision and she will have to take whatever the workload assignment is. If she decides to refer the issue to arbitration, then the union does this on her behalf, and OPSU Central Scheduling will notify everyone once the arbitration's been scheduled. It can take 12 to 24 months for an arbitration to actually take place because we just have supply and demand issues in this sector right now. Some grievances like dismissals and disciplinary grievances are given higher priority in the scheduling than others. At this point, a lawyer gets assigned by OPSU to handle Georgia's arbitration, and the lawyer will reach out to the union in Georgia 4 to 8 weeks before the hearing in order to prep everybody. They will ask us for all of our documentation and information. So that's where those notes from meetings and email messages become really important. They will review key arguments and help us set expectations for the arbitration. Arbitrations are also virtual via Zoom, and most arbitrations will start with an attempt to resolve things through mediation. And so when you jump into the virtual arbitration, there's a main room with the arbitrator. They will immediately move you into your respective room, either the union room or the college room, and your union representatives and union lawyer will be in that room as well. So during mediation, the lawyers are the only ones who really get together to chat and talk about various things. They might pop in and out of the arbitrator's room, and they might pop in and out of their own room to ask questions, look for clarification, ask for extra documents. And so for the most part, Georgia and the union reps are really just sitting in the room waiting to hear from the lawyer. And if this back and forth happens until either a settlement is reached or it becomes clear that there won't be a settlement. And if there is a settlement, it is written up, it is confidential, and all the parties sign it. And if there is no settlement, then a hearing will be held. And oftentimes the hearing will be scheduled on a separate day. It tends to be more formal. There would be witnesses called, testimony given, and once the hearing's concluded, the arbitrator gets to make the decision, which is final. And the only reason a decision might be reviewed is if one of the parties can prove that the arbitrator did something incorrectly and that they didn't consider information or apply the rules properly. And once a decision is made by an arbitrator, that becomes a public decision, a decision of public record. And, we just take whatever the arbitrator's decision is and away we go.